Hey everyone, how's it going? I figured today I would talk about the Ant-Man and the Wasp, the sequel to the Ant-Man and the Wasp. The timeline of Ant-Man and the Wasp takes place, like 2 years after the events of Captain America Infinity War, but just before the events of, the Avengers Infinity War. So in this particular case, because of the events that happened in Captain America's, Civil War, Scott Lang, was placed under house arrest for, help, Steve Rogers, which violated the uh, Sokovia Accords. So that's what happens to him. And then, of course, Hank Pym and his daughter Hope Van Dyne, who becomes the Wasp, but as his partner to help out. Scott. They try to retrieve Hank, her mother, Janet, the original Wasp, and from the quantum realm, in which she was trapped, for over 30 years. When flashback reveals that she was trying to disable a Soviet bomb in the 80s, and of course in the first movie, Scott somehow managed to travel to the quantum realm and back, even though he didn't really recall his experience this, and Hank and Hope needs Scott's help, to try to rescue her from the quantum realm before that opportunity slips by and doesn't happen again for like another century. And then this time around, there's a new villain by the name of Ghost, named aka Ava, who's, I wouldn't say not really evil, but she has like she kind of like she's physically, molecularly unstable, because of an accident that happened to her, you know, when she was a child, which caused her to like, you know, kind of like physically, you know, come in and out of existence in the physical sense, if that's the way you want to say it, because of the effects of the quantum realm experiment that her father tried to do when she was a child, which accidentally killed him and her mother. And then of course you, you deal like with other bad guys in the movie, particularly Walter Goggins character. And then of course you got Scott trying to readjust to his life after the events of Captain America, and trying to be a good father to his daughter Casey, while I guess trying to balance out his superhero life and trying to, I guess, wait until the remaining days to get off house arrest and things like that. In terms of the actual story, it's actually, Ant-Man and the Wasp is actually quite enjoyable. Particularly, Paul Rudd surprisingly is pretty good as, Scott Lang, the former, criminal who becomes, you know, takes on the mantle, in which, Hank Pym was the original Ant-Man, a long time ago before he passed it down to Scott. And then, of course, him and Hope, end up starting a relationship, and, things like that. I mean, I would say in terms of the story, I would say like say Avengers and of course Captain America Civil War were better movies, only because in the case Ant Man and the Wasp, kind of felt a little bit too much on the humorous side, which was kind of one of the few problems I had with Thor Ragnarok. I mean, even though that was the kind of the point to have a Marvel movie that's somewhat lighter tone, and I guess the stakes didn't feel like they were as high, you know, this time around. And there was like no real villain, but more like someone who was more like misunderstood, and things like that. you know and of course you have Lawrence Fishburne, playing Bill Foster, a former partner of Hank when he used to work with Shield. So that was pretty cool to see. So I mean, for Marvel fans, I would recommend it, even though it's not what I consider one of the stronger Marvel well-known, characters. But it's still enjoyable for what it is. So I'd recommend it for those that like the Marvel Cinematic Universe for that reason. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in the third Ant-Man movie should they go forward. All right, everyone, thanks for watching, and have a good night.